Hello Libra friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my report, Libra March 2021 Astrology Must Knows. I am letting everyone know right at the beginning of these March reports that March is my favorite month of the entire year from the astrological perspective. I'm going to explain to you why, and then we're going to get into lots of Libra specific details, but you definitely don't want to miss the excitement of the great points of this month because they have been so long overdue in the general climate of the stars. Okay, so in March, we have way more sweet aspects compared to salty ones. And even a couple of the salty ones, or ones that could go that way, could actually go positive as well. So there's just really a domination of sweet aspects. And we haven't had a month like that in a very long time. And we're not going to have a month like this for the rest of 2021. So this is a very unique month and it's very exciting and very noteworthy, and that's why I want to start off with this. Now there are a bunch of other reasons why I love this month. The next has to do with the fact that we're not only in these sweet aspects, but we don't have heavy outer planet connections. Okay, so besides having a lot of good ones, there are also some really harsh ones that we've been going through that are we're getting some distance from those. There is one aspect, the Saturn-Uranus aspect, that is going to continue throughout 2020. It's going to come back around towards the middle of the year and then come back around again. But at this time in March, we're pulling away from that strong connection. And so that makes March the first month that we're not really dominated by one of these outer planet crashes, because those outer planet clashes are really why 2020 was the way it was and why January and February of 2021 were so intense. It's because when planets that take a really long time to move, like these outer planets do, come into a configuration, especially if it's a challenged one, they stay there for a long time and they just kind of hang out. They bring this mood, they cover the whole month that they're in, and then they go into the backdrop and then they come back again. We just had so much of that last year and into the beginning of 2021. So you will definitely feel a lightening of all of that. Okay, so that is another reason I'm very excited. Yet another must know about this month has to do with the fact that we're not in a domination of retrograde energies. Okay, so 2020 was had a predominance of personal planet retrogrades, and the second half of January and all of February were also that way. So as we get deeper into March, the lingering effects of that Mercury retrograde start to fade. What comes with the retrogrades is things being called into question, confusion, a lack of clarity, things feeling like they're on shaky ground, not being able to make plans, not being able to see very far in front of you or try to plan for anything, and in some ways it's a very beautiful spiritual practice that we just are right here, right now. And I think 2020 offered us a lot of opportunities like that in the beginning of 2021. But it is kind of a relief sometimes when you can start to see a little further into the distance. And I feel like March is going to be a month where, as it wears on, and even April is similar in this way, where we can start to see, we can start to plan because of the lack of those retrograde energies. And the direct energies are the ones that really bring the impetus, the oomph, the clarity, the drive, the ambition, and tend to set things gelling rather than creating obstacles like we've had just one obstacle after another in many cases. Okay, and there is one more reason why I love this month. Is my favorite one of the whole year. Definitely must know is that we're at a center point between the eclipse seasons. Eclipse seasons, if you followed my work or if you know about eclipses, we have eclipse seasons around twice a year. Sometimes it shifts a little depending on their cycle, but it's basically twice a year, every 6 months. And when they happen, they bring radical changes, intensity, major endings, very dramatic goodbyes and really intense openings. And they also bring a lot of, some kind of retrograde energies roll in with that too, in the way of like the uncertainty and something's happening, but you don't know where it's going and you can't exactly plan because you don't have all the information. So we're not in that time in March. We're at this center point that's dancing between the eclipses. So March and, the better part of April are in between the eclipses that were in December and January, or the end of 2020, the beginning of 2021 type of energy. And well, it was actually November and December of last year, but the eclipse energy really flowed very much into January of 2021 as well. And then we're going to have them again in May and June of 2021. So you're at this point where it's like this little cushion in between the intense aspects, in between the intense eclipses. So it's definitely something to smile about. And it's going to make a lot of people smile. So I hope you're one of them. Okay, so now let's talk about some Libra specific things. The first thing that I want to talk about, I'm always chasing these astro kisses, as I call them. The astro kisses are when a planet is moving in a configuration that makes a nice mathematical angle to your placement. Everything in astrology is based in math, and these mathematical connections have qualities, and the qualities, show the experience of the angle. And so Mars, the planet of action and ambition and movement and inspiration, is going to be making a sweet astro kiss, a trine, the most favorable aspect in all of astrology, with your Libra placements. Okay, and this is very exciting because things that you've been working on could just randomly work out. You could have ambition to follow through with things. You could have green lights and obstacles dissolve away. You could, even to your physical mobility, you could have improvements to your physical mobility. Anything having to do with moving forward is going to be supercharged for you because of the angle that Gemini makes to Libra. Now, every Libra placement is going to get this kiss, but those of you who are in the first half of the month or degree, or not month, so basically the September born through around October 5th, that's the first half of the sign, or 0 to 15 degrees if you're watching for your moon or your rising or your even Venus or Mars. You can watch for any of your personal placements. And this is for you. So regardless of what your Libra placement is, the information in this reading is part of your astrological picture. And so if you know your degrees, then from 0 to 15 you're going to get your kiss in March, okay? Or from the beginning of the sign in September through around October 5th. You'll get your Mars kiss in March. Around October 6th and after, or 16 degrees and after, 15, 16 degrees and after, you're going to get your kiss in April, okay? But do know that it's coming. It's just be a little bit staggered depending on where you're at. So that's very exciting. Something else that's really exciting going on, I'm going to get back to Mars, but I just want to mention it while I'm here, is the transiting nodes. Nodes are really important. In my opinion, the North and South node are really the most important placements in the whole chart, and they're very underutilized, and people don't even know about them. But there are transiting nodes, and there are nodes in your natal placements. And the transiting nodes are also in a favorable angle, and that's for the entire duration of the Sagittarius-Gemini eclipse cycle. A bomb that I haven't dropped on you guys yet, for those of you who are interested in understanding this in a deeper way, if you follow the transiting nodes at all, you may or may not have ever noticed that they are always in the signs that the eclipse cycle, that cycling out, is in. So sometime, into 2020, we got into the Gemini Sagittarius eclipse cycle. And we're there until like the beginning of 2022. And for the entire time that we're having those eclipses and those signs, you'll see that these transiting nodes will be in these places because they're working constantly, not just at eclipse time. And for Libras, that's actually really favorable because the angles that the eclipses are making and the angles that the nodes are making are really favorable for Libra, which means that the chance for you to burn off karma is super high. The chance for you to step onto your highest path, your destiny, your dharma, what you came to do, is increased dramatically. And so that's true for all Libra placements for this entire duration. And this month, it's even more intense and pronounced for those of you who are between 12 and 15 degrees. Now, if you don't know what degrees you have, just do a free birth chart online. I am still working on getting software on my site where you'll be able to do these on my site eventually. But until then, you just run a free birth chart online, and then you can see what your Libra placement degree is. And maybe you have other placements in Libra too that you could be tracking as I'm talking about this. But those of you between 12 and 15 degrees are going to feel this the most this month. And you can really, really, really activate your highest destiny. And that is also like the October 2nd through 5th or 6th birthdays that really, really is bringing this into the picture, but it is true for all of you all. Okay, so now back to Mars. Mars is also the fact that it's in Gemini is also really important because Mars, as we talked about, rules forward movement. If you've been watching my reports, then you know that I got really excited about December and January kind of opening up from the personal planet retrogrades to be able to have forward movement. But we were also having a little bit of an obstacle because we had a series of outer planet clashes at the same time as those open stars. So there was just mass chaos and intensity, and we had the eclipses then as well. So even though we just recently had some, quote, open stars to get stuff done and move things forward, it had a lot of hindrances. But now in March, as we're opening into these open stars again, they're even more open than they were in December and January in many ways, because we don't have these outer planet hindrances or the intensity of the eclipses. So as Mars is moving through Gemini, which is a very busy energy, you're going to be very busy, and the chance for travel is way increased. And this is a theme for Libras, whether it's like immigration topics or whether it's anything having to do with local travel or transportation, like if you have to buy a car or a device. March and April are great for that, especially a little bit later into March as we let the Mercury thing kind of wear off a little bit. And then Mars is going to start highlighting your 9th house, which rules immigration. It also rules publishing, and writing and publishing and teaching and speaking and education and learning languages is coming up globally for everyone because of the eclipses in Gemini and Sag and these nodes working, like I was talking about in the backdrop, even when the eclipses aren't happening. But this is even more true for Libra placements because the nodes are in those houses for you, and Mars is going to be moving through the 9th house. Okay, so if you wanted to launch your teaching program or get into a program or plan some international travel, if you're in a country where the mandates are starting to give way and you actually can do this, you might see international trip planning starting to open up in a big way. So either you'll be having trips in this time, March or April, or you'll start to be able to plan them. Okay, and of course it's not going to be true for every individual because different countries are going to have different rules for lasting for different amount of times. But the energy astrologically is certainly there. Now, some other ways it can manifest are also social connections, even if they're just online and not virtual. But many people are going to see a resurgence of their social scenes and social connections and travel near and far happening at this time, March and April. Okay, so Pisces dominates this month in many ways because of the personal planets moving through Pisces. And that's an energy that doesn't flow really well for Libra placement. So you will feel the awkwardness of that. You'll feel the heavy emotions of Pisces. You'll feel the uncertainty of, just kind of the wavering kind of self-esteem tugs that Pisces can tend to bring up. But there are infinite positive ways that this energy can present for you as well. And so I wanted to mention that you'll feel some of the awkwardness either with high emotion for you or for other people from these placements, but I want to talk about the plus side too of how you can use this energy in the best ways. If you are not sleeping well, I have many friends in the health field, even leaders in the health arenas, health and wellness, and there are many things that we can talk about as far as obtaining, and maintaining vibrant health. But really the most important thing is sleep. Sleep is completely central, and most people don't get good sleep. And Pisces energy rules sleep. So if you're not sleeping well and you're determined to sleep better, this, more quantity and more quality sleep, the energies this month can be really conducive to that. Also, if you're wanting to learn meditation or deepen your meditation, you'll have a massive amount of support this month. Anything having to do with mystical studies or psychological work, past life regressions, anything having to do with hypnotherapy or working with subliminals or affirmations or anything where you're working on your subconscious mind has extra boosts and can really bring a lot of breakthroughs and movement at this time. If you're working on developing your intuition or expanding your intuition, or if you're debilitated as an empath and you're trying to find ways to thrive as an empath, this month can offer a lot of insights and tools to help you use your sensitivities for your good and other people's good and not be so difficult for you. If you're trying to learn to channel, or if you have been channeling like people who've crossed over, or having dreams with loved ones who've crossed over, or any connections to angels or the lesser seen realms, this month also has a massive amount of support for that. And self-love and compassion and, really just feeling the oneness behind the spirit, behind the mask of the material. Pisces is the energy that rules the cosmic soup, the all that is. And so there's a massive amount of opportunity this month for you to foster your trust in the divine power. I always like to bring this back to math, because I'm a scientist by nature, but I'm also, in the mystical realms, and the deeper you go into science, you realize it always leads to mysticism, and the deeper you go into mysticism, it always gets backed by science. So in any case, I write about this in my book, Planetology, back here. And basically, the phi, the golden ratio, the 1.618, and so on, magical number, is actually present in the placements and the movements of the stars. So the relative distance between the planets actually has the phi ratio. I have a nice column in here that my husband compiled for me, for you to see this visually in this book. But what that means to me, and what that can mean to you, is that if there is a golden ratio at the root of everything, and there is something predictable and secure and certain at the root of everything, which there is, you can see it exhibited in this example, then to me that talks about a benevolent higher power where there's order behind the seeming chaos. And that is awe-inspiring. And if it's definitely, can help you foster trust in this higher power to kind of think about it that way. So lots of opportunities. Something else Pisces can bring you this month is to detoxify your body, to detoxify your home, your relationships, and, really just focus on finding your stability in more certain things than the ever-changing view around you. Okay, so now I want to talk about how the month is going to change as it wears on, because we start the month out, and most of the month does have a lot of this Pisces domination. But once we get to March 21st, Venus and the Sun move into Aries, and that's a completely different picture for everybody and for Libra. So Aries placements, which this happens every year this time, starts to really bring your relationship sector into focus, and the relationship to relationships. And, it brings opportunities, like a lot of push and pull in your relationship space, for better and worse. It could just be that you've got a lot going on in a great way, your partner has a lot going on in a good way, and, you're trying to just deal with all of it. Or it could have to do with something being at odds and you having an opportunity to heal it. Or it could have to do with finding the perfect partnerships or helpers. So like if you need a house cleaner, or you need an accountant, or you need a doctor, or anybody who is a helper person in your life, this energy starts to crowd into your 7th house around this time of year, at the end of March and into April. And the later you are in the Libra sign, the later this goes on. You might feel this, more towards the end of April, if you're later in the sign. But it's still in this period of time that sector gets really highlighted for you. And it is an opposition. I always call the opposition a superhero placement. It's the energy that helps you to push into your superhero mode. Like for example, it always seems to happen that of all of the crazy, chaotic variables in my life that could go awry or have something come up, they tend to come up in a higher frequency the night before I record horoscopes. And so, you know, that leaves me often without having slept and, you know, having a titanic thing ahead of me. And that, to me, that energy very much like feels like this opposition. But like my son just said this morning, he said, because we were laughing about how it happened again with some chaos in the night before I was recording today. And he said, Mom, I think the reason that happens is because in order for you to activate your superhero, you have to have all of these things to deal with so that it helps it kick in. And I just thought that was so sweet, but it's so true. Like it really is that sometimes, and even from the adrenal perspective, these oppositions, which are going to start at the end of March, and you'll feel, you know, March and April, they do actually create circumstances that fire your adrenals on overdrive. And when your adrenals are fired on overdrive, you literally, scientifically, like this is physiologically, have more access to do things. Now, it's not great to be in a sustained experience of that because you'll blow your adrenals out. And that's a whole other problem. But you know, you do tend to have this crisis activation that triggers this. So, you know, that being said, this time of year, you definitely need more adrenal support. I'm not a doctor, so you have to check this with yours, but like methylated B complex, other adrenal adaptogens that help your adrenals to work well under stress are going to be really important for Libras at this time. Okay, so something else of note for Libras is the full moon in Libra. Of course, we usually get only one full moon a year. Sometimes there's more than one, but usually just one. And this year there's only one. And so this is your full moon of this 13 moon cycle, rather. And it's at 8 degrees, and it's going to be on March 28th or 29th, depending on your time zone. So this is really critical and important for every Libra. But those of you who are closer to 8 degrees, so basically the very end of September or the very beginning of October, you're going to feel this more intensely. If you haven't already looked up your chart, I definitely recommend that you do, because here's another instance where if you had other Libra degree placements and you knew the degree, maybe your sun or whatever you're watching for isn't at 8 degrees or close to 8 degrees. But you might have another Libra placement that is, and then you would know like, wow, okay, that's going to hit me in the whatever it is. And so you can expect to be more personally impacted. We're more personally impacted by the stars, the starry movements, when they mathematically link into our personal chart. And you can use my reports to get that type of, information if you know what your chart looks like. So fullness, completion, fruition, drama to everything ruling Libra. And that's for better or worse. Hidden things coming to light, things coming that you've been working on. A lot of intensity because there are also clashes with Chiron at this time. Chiron is going to be clashing with Venus and the Sun, and all of that's going to be happening at the same time. So feeling victimized or noticing a pattern of betrayal or having a chance to shift a pattern of betrayal or conflict within a relationship is very enhanced at this time. But I would suggest you leaving some space around these dates because things do come up. And if you have the space, then you can deal with them more readily. Okay, so some of the other things that Libra rules that could come up at this moon, besides relationships, partnerships, are things having to do with legal matters, could have to do with design projects or artistic projects, and can also have to do with anything even like related again to your relationship to relationship. So like discoveries about yourself within relationship, with the relationship kind of being the trigger or the mirror, but your relationship to yourself being the most important part there. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about this month for Libras has to do with a crowding of energy in your 6th house. And this is going to start out very prominent at the beginning of the month, especially for those of you who are September born. But as we move through the month, this is going to become even more true for everybody else in the Libra spectrum. And this is the 6th house focus. So this has to do with things with your pets, things having to do with animals or healing with animals or your own pets or your relationship with animals. This also has to do with your health and your wellness. So this is an amazing time to start scheduling those long overdue, medical exams and your lab work. I like the lab work like more mid-month and after, because we want to get a little, more out of the web of that Mercury retrograde post shadow period that's kind of at the beginning of the month. So when you have your diagnostics, but of course, if it's an emergency, just get it whenever. But if you have say in it, like the middle of the month and after in April, is really good for diagnostics and your tests and your checkups and everything like that. It's really fantastic for starting a new wellness regimen, starting a new diet, joining some sort of health-related club or something online or in person, and just really committing to stress management. This discussion that we had about adrenals being fired and accessing your superhero self. If you're finding that that's happening all the time because you have to access your superhero self all the time, then you really need to start to look into stress management and how you can support your adrenals and your nervous system, but also how you can start to dismantle the pattern of stress and trauma and drama to your nervous system. And EFT, the emotional freedom technique, is amazing for that. And there are tons of free resources for that online. So overall, just like the best month of the year in general, even though there are certain challenge points that will come up in the Libra configuration, there are so many sweet things that it's very likely going to be softened compared to what it would be like if we didn't have this sweetness holding everything up. And as discussed, there are many, many, many opportunities for you to clear up things in many areas of life. And if you're looking for that clarity and looking for more certainty as the month goes on, there's a very good chance you're going to get that. Okay, so if you'd like even more information about the astrology ahead and how you can make the most of it, first go to anniehelpsyou.com. You'll see a little note there that says, "Dear friend, I'm Annie Botticelli," and it will have a sign up right there on the front page. That's where you sign up for my free email newsletter. You'll want to sign up for this because you will get delivered into your inbox 1 month early each month my write-up, a comprehensive write-up of the month ahead, including all the sweet dates, all the salty dates, what you might expect with those, and lots of details about what you can expect for the month and what to be aware of and what to celebrate. Okay, while you're at anniehelpsyou.com, click in the right top corner under blog, and I've got all different types of blogs, but of note here with this astrology forecast is my astrology blog, so you can check that out. Then go to cozybysweetstarlight.com and note that in the notes underneath this video, if you click on the little more arrow underneath the video, it will reveal all of the notes with these actual links so that you don't have to just remember what I'm saying, because they're always underneath the video. So you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com, get my written horoscopes for each sign up 1 month early as usual. I like to give you time for planning. Also, I've got extensive different categories for healthy living and astrology kissed living. So herbal teas for each sign, yoga for each sign as the sun moves through the signs. So you'll want to check that out. It's a beautiful site. Then definitely also go to lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. That's my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, and check out the free courses that I have for you. And also you can see my paid courses. If you think I put a lot into my free resources, then wow, you should see what goes into my paid courses. You can check out my Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course. Even if you don't want to do astrology professionally, if you want to learn astrology because you love it and you want to learn how to use it for yourself, for your own self-development and help your family and friends, or if you do want to do it professionally, this course is crazy comprehensive and it will prepare you to do whatever you want to do with astrology. So you can see that at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. And the last thing is to make sure to get my book, my new book, Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. It's in every major bookseller, all in every Barnes & Noble, every Books A Million in the whole United States. It's also everywhere extensively throughout the world. You can get it pretty much anywhere. And it will help you to do just that, align with the natural rhythms of the universe. It's a very comprehensive book, and you'll go back to it time and time again for resources on how to use all of the astrological potentials in the best way. You can get it on Audible, you can get it on ebook, and you can get the beautiful hardcover version. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.